There comes a moment in life when you realize no one is coming to save you. Not your parents, not your partner, not a new year, a new job, or some magical version of yourself that wakes up one day with everything figured out. If you don't take ownership of your time, your space, your habits, your mind, chaos will. Life doesn't fall apart overnight. It unravels slowly. One missed task, one broken promise, one day without intention, and suddenly you're overwhelmed. Not because you're weak, but because you stopped organizing the parts of your life that needed structure. Self-discipline is not punishment, it's protection. Order is not control, it's clarity. And if you don't force yourself to bring order into your world, disorder will force itself upon you. In this episode, we explore 12 Stoic lessons that will help you bring structure, focus, and calm into your life before everything falls apart. Because chaos is not the default. It's what happens when you stop choosing direction. 1. Wake up. No one will fix your life for you. There is a moment, a hard, silent moment, when you finally realize no one is coming to clean up the mess you've been living in. Not your parents, not your partner, not your mentors, not even time. There's no magical morning where everything clicks, the fog lifts, and suddenly your habits align, your space is clean, your finances are organized, and your mental clarity returns. That moment only arrives when you do. It's easy to live in delay, to tell yourself, I'll get it together next month, after this season ends, once I feel more motivated. But life doesn't respond to intention, it responds to direction. It doesn't change because you want it to. It changes when you take full ownership of the chaos you've let grow. That's the first Stoic truth of order, radical responsibility. Marcus Aurelius, the Emperor of Rome, didn't write about blaming others. He wrote about mastering the self. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Strength doesn't come from waiting. It comes from waking up, from stepping into the discomfort of your own avoidance and saying, enough. No one else is responsible for this. Because the longer you wait for someone to save you, the deeper you sink. And the deeper you sink, the more you confuse survival with stability. But they are not the same. Survival is reaction. It's living by default. It's putting out fires in the dark, hoping no one notices the smoke. Stability is structure. It's facing what you've been avoiding. It's choosing order, not because it's easy, but because the alternative, collapse, is far worse. The truth is, no one can fix your life for you. They can support you, guide you, challenge you, but the actual work, the daily decisions, the mental rewiring, that's on you. And that's not bad news, it's liberating. Because if it's your responsibility, then it's also within your control, even when it feels overwhelming. So, what does it look like to wake up? It looks like getting honest, painfully honest, about where your life has slipped. Is it your health, your sleep, your focus, your financial chaos, your emotional boundaries? Pick one, just one, and start. It looks like giving up the fantasy that someday you'll feel ready. You won't. Discipline isn't about feeling ready. It's about honoring what needs to be done, even when you're tired, even when it's inconvenient. It looks like showing up for the boring tasks, the ones no one sees, making your bed, planning your day, saying no to things that waste your time, returning to the basics that keep your mind sharp and your life clean. And it looks like dropping the victim mindset. Yes, life may have been unfair. Yes, people may have hurt you, abandoned you, failed to support you. But those people are not in charge of your next step. You are. And the longer you wait for them to come back and fix what they broke, the longer you stay stuck in the story of your pain instead of the truth of your power. So ask yourself, where am I still waiting for someone else to do what only I can do? And what would change today if I stopped waiting and started rebuilding? Because no one is coming, but that's okay. You are already enough. You just have to get up and begin. 2. Your schedule reflects your soul. If someone followed you for a week, no explanations, no captions, no justifications, just watched how you spend your time, what would they learn about what you value? Would they see focus, discipline, a sense of purpose? Or would they see distraction, overcommitment, anxiety, and scattered effort dressed up as being busy? Your calendar isn't just a list of tasks. It's a mirror. It shows you, minute by minute, what you prioritize, not in theory, but in action. And that's where many of us start to feel exposed. You say your health matters, but it doesn't have space in your day. You say you want clarity, but your schedule is filled with noise. You say you value your dreams, but somehow everything else gets done before your dream ever gets touched. This isn't about shame, it's about awakening, because time is the one currency that never refills. And every time you say yes out of guilt, habit, or fear, you're spending something you can never get back. The Stoics were obsessed with time. Seneca warned us in On the Shortness of Life, it is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it. His message wasn't about hustle, it was about intention, about recognizing that life slips away not in huge mistakes, but in small, unconscious choices, one unchecked hour at a time. And this is where discipline becomes sacred, not rigid, not robotic, sacred. Because when you start choosing what you do with your time, instead of letting your day be hijacked by whatever shows up first, you start choosing who you're becoming. And that is the essence of self-respect. So how do you bring order back into your schedule? You begin with awareness. Track your time, not to judge, but to understand. Where is your energy going? What are the non-negotiables? What could be released without consequence? Then define your values. What actually matters to you? Not what looks good, not what other people expect. What makes you feel alive, strong, grounded? If your calendar doesn't reflect those answers, you're living someone else's life. Next, protect your time like it's sacred, because it is. Block time for your priorities before others fill the space. Create rituals, not just routines. Mornings that set your tone, evenings that allow you to breathe. Build margins so you're not always running late to your own life. And most importantly, say no, often, clearly, without guilt. Every yes you give without intention is a small betrayal of your deeper self, and too many of those, and you lose sight of who you are. So ask yourself, if my schedule is a reflection of my soul, what does it currently say about me, and what needs to shift, not next year, but this week, to bring it back into alignment? Because you're not just managing time, you're sculpting your identity, and the shape of your future will follow the shape of your calendar. 3. Rituals and routines. Anchor you. In a world that constantly pulls you in 1,000 directions, how do you stay grounded? The answer is not more willpower. It's not chasing motivation or trying harder each morning to be productive. It's ritual, it's rhythm, it's returning to the same quiet practices every day that remind you who you are. We often think of routines as boring, as restrictive, as something meant for robots and rigid lifestyles. But the truth is, Rituals and routines are anchors. They don't limit your freedom. They create the structure that makes freedom possible. Think of a ship in a storm. Without an anchor, it's at the mercy of the waves. And so are you, if you don't have habits that hold you steady when life gets overwhelming, uncertain, or hard. The Stoics understood this deeply. They didn't call it morning routine or evening reflection, but they lived by them. Marcus Aurelius began each day by preparing his mind for what was to come, reminding himself not to be surprised by rudeness, hardship, or frustration. He armed himself with clarity, and at night he would return inward again, examining his actions, asking where he lived in alignment and where he didn't. Not with self-judgment, but with self-honesty. That's what a ritual does. It grounds you. It gives you back your identity in a world that tries to define it for you. When you skip this structure, you begin each day in reaction. Your first thoughts are not yours. They're shaped by your notifications. Your first emotions are borrowed from news, from comparison, from other people's demands. You move fast, but without direction. You end the day exhausted, but unclear about what you really lived for. But when you begin your day with a ritual, even 5 minutes, everything shifts. You're no longer entering the world empty, you're entering it centered. Maybe it's stillness, breath, reading, journaling, moving your body, drinking water with presence, naming one intention. It doesn't have to be fancy, it just has to be yours. And the same goes for evening. Before bed, pause, reflect, ask, where did I live intentionally today? Where did I abandon myself? Not to obsess, but to remember, so that tomorrow you come back to yourself faster. Over time, these rituals become your rhythm. They carry you. On good days, they amplify your clarity. On hard days, they rescue you from the drift. And here's the truth. You won't always feel like doing them. That's okay. Ritual isn't about feeling, it's about returning, about deciding that you are worth the few sacred moments of structure, that your mind, your body, your soul deserve consistency, not just survival. So ask yourself, how do I begin and end my days? And do those rhythms reflect the life I say I want, or the life I've simply fallen into? Because routines aren't cages, they're anchors, and the more chaotic your life feels, the more essential it is to return to them. 4. Declutter your space to free your mind. Have you ever noticed how your mind feels heavier when your surroundings are a mess? The pile of clothes in the corner, the dishes in the sink, the notifications blinking, the desk cluttered with papers, wires, and unfinished tasks. You may try to ignore it, push through, tell yourself it doesn't matter. But your nervous system disagrees. It's registering every object, every noise, every bit of chaos, and it's exhausting you. There's a reason for this. Outer disorder feeds inner disorder, and the longer you live in a space that's overwhelmed, the more you become overwhelmed yourself. You can't expect to think clearly in an environment that's constantly sending you signals of stress, unfinished business, and mental noise. That's not weakness, that's biology. Your surroundings speak directly to your nervous system. Every object has a message, and if your space is cluttered with what no longer serves you, your mind will be too. The Stoics may not have spoken of minimalism, but they knew the power of clarity. Seneca warned against luxury, not because wealth was bad, but because he knew the more you surround yourself with what is unnecessary, the more you become owned by your possessions instead of free within your mind. It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, that is poor. That craving, It often hides in physical excess, and that excess becomes weight. So what does it mean to declutter as a form of self-respect? It's not just tidying up, it's editing your environment to reflect your current truth. It's asking, does this item still align with who I'm becoming? Or is it part of a past I'm ready to let go of? That shirt you haven't worn in 3 years, that drawer full of random cables, that stack of books you feel guilty for not finishing, they're not neutral. They're whispers of procrastination, avoidance, indecision. And you feel them, even when you don't see them. And the deeper truth. Sometimes we hold on to clutter because it's familiar, because parting with it feels like admitting something has ended. A phase, a version of us, a dream. But you cannot invite clarity while clinging to what no longer fits. Decluttering is not just cleaning, it's letting go. And letting go is one of the most powerful acts of inner alignment. So how do you begin? Start small. One drawer, one shelf, one corner of your room. Don't aim for perfection. Aim for presence. Handle each item and ask, does this support the life I say I want? If it doesn't, release it with gratitude, not guilt. Then notice how you feel. Lighter, sharper, more motivated. That's not a coincidence. That's your energy being returned to you. And make this a practice, not a one-time purge, but a rhythm, because life is always changing, and your space should evolve with it. So ask yourself, what in my physical environment is stealing from my mental peace, and what might I recover if I finally made space for clarity? Because your mind is not separate from your surroundings, and sometimes the first step to inner order is clearing the room you've been avoiding. 5. Plan your days or be dragged by them. If you don't decide where your day is going, something else will. A text message, a headline, a distraction disguised as urgency, the endless scroll of other people's priorities. Before you know it, hours disappear, not because you were resting, but because you were reacting. Not because you chose, but because you drifted. This is the silent cost of a day without a plan. Your life begins to move, but it no longer moves with you. When you wake up and immediately dive into the chaos, without a clear intention, without a mapped-out focus, you're handing your time to randomness. And randomness always favors urgency, not meaning. It rewards distraction, not depth. It gives you the illusion of being busy, while slowly pulling you further from the life you actually want. That's why planning is not control, it's clarity. It's how you claim your power before the world tells you how to spend it. The Stoics understood this long before planners and productivity apps existed. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, often reminded himself to begin the day by preparing his mind, not just spiritually, but tactically. He prepared for difficulty. He chose what was important in advance. Why? Because a life of virtue, of meaning, of purpose doesn't happen accidentally. And yet, so many people resist planning. They associate it with pressure, with rules, with rigidity. But structure isn't the enemy of freedom. It's what makes freedom possible. Because if you don't decide what matters, the world will decide for you. And the world will almost always choose what keeps you distracted, not what makes you disciplined. Planning your day is an act of self-respect. It's saying, my time is valuable, my focus is sacred, my energy is not up for grabs, and it doesn't need to be complicated. You don't need to schedule every minute, but you do need to know what matters today, and when you'll give it your attention. You need to define your non-negotiables, your high priorities, your moments of rest. Otherwise, they get lost beneath the weight of everything else. Start each morning with 5 quiet minutes. Ask yourself, what matters most today? Where do I want my energy to go? Not just what I must do, but who I want to be. That clarity, even if imperfect, changes how you move. You'll notice the noise faster. You'll say no more easily. You'll return to your path when you feel yourself drifting. And when life gets chaotic, as it often does, your plan becomes your compass. Not a chain, but a guide. You don't follow it blindly. You return to it with intention. So ask yourself, am I living my days by design or by default? Do I know what matters each day? Or am I letting the loudest thing decide for me? Because you weren't born to be dragged through your own life. You were meant to lead it, one clear choice at a time. 6. Be mindful of what you consume. You are not just what you eat. You are what you watch, what you scroll, what you hear, what you allow into your mind when no one else is watching. Most people think of consumption in physical terms, calories, diets, nutrition, but the Stoics understood something far deeper, that the content you allow into your mind becomes the texture of your soul. Your thoughts, your beliefs, your moods, they're all shaped, slowly and quietly, by what you expose yourself to daily. Imagine this. You wake up and the first thing you see is bad news. Before your feet even touch the ground, you've already absorbed stress, fear, and outrage. Then you scroll. Influencers, success stories, filtered bodies, curated lives. And your nervous system, still waking up, is now bathed in comparison, lack, and noise. And by the time your day begins, you're already drained. Not because anything happened, but because of what you let in. That is the power of consumption. It either grounds you or it poisons you. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The things you think about determine the quality of your mind. Your soul takes on the color of your thoughts." So if your thoughts are shaped by constant negativity, superficial distraction, and reactive noise, how can you expect clarity? How can you build a peaceful life when your mental landscape is in a constant state of chaos? And yet, we act as if we have no choice, as if we're victims of the algorithm, as if every notification deserves our attention, as if silence is unnatural and boredom is dangerous. But you do have a choice. In fact, choosing what you consume may be the most powerful form of modern discipline. It's not just about turning things off. It's about protecting your mind like it's sacred, because it is. You wouldn't let a stranger walk into your home and dump garbage in your living room. Yet most people let strangers pour toxicity into their thoughts all day long, through doom scrolling, through gossip, through mindless content that numbs you instead of feeds you. So how do you reclaim your focus? Start with intentional filtering. Clean your digital space the same way you'd clean your house. Unfollow accounts that disturb your peace. Silence notifications that hijack your mornings. Delete apps that only serve to distract. You don't owe your attention to everyone. You owe it to your values. Then, create rituals around intentional input. Read philosophy. Listen to music that lifts you. Spend time in silence. Let nature speak to your nervous system. Journal. Reflect. Choose what enters your mind the same way you would choose what enters your body, with care, with thought, with love. And remember, consumption isn't only about media, it's also about people, conversations, spaces, environments. Be honest. Who drains you? What spaces tighten your chest? What topics leave you feeling heavy instead of inspired? These are not neutral. Your energy knows the truth, even if you try to explain it away. And when you clean your mental input, something beautiful happens. Your clarity returns, your focus sharpens, your emotional reactivity softens, and your mind, no longer under siege, begins to breathe again. So ask yourself, what am I consuming daily that is feeding my anxiety, confusion, or self-doubt? And what would change in my life if I only allowed in what truly aligned with who I want to become? You are not just living your life, you are building your mind, one piece of input at a time, and what you allow in becomes who you are. 7. The people around you are part of your order. It's easy to think of order as something purely personal, your habits, your space, your time. But one of the most powerful and most overlooked sources of either clarity or chaos is people. Look around you. Who do you speak to most? Who texts you daily? Who do you listen to, laugh with, vent to, trust, absorb? Because whether you realize it or not, the people closest to you are shaping your energy, your mindset, your rhythm. They are either sharpening your focus or scattering it. The Stoics were clear on this. Epictetus warned, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid by those who don't understand." Why? Because growth often means separating from those who are committed to staying stuck. You can't build a life of inner order if you are constantly surrounded by emotional noise, drama, distraction, or low expectations. This isn't about judgment, it's about awareness. You absorb more than you think. The mood of someone in your circle can linger in your mind for hours. Their words echo, their attitudes rub off, their urgency becomes your anxiety. And over time, this doesn't just affect how you feel, it affects how you live. You start abandoning your routines to meet their chaos. You lose focus trying to fix what isn't yours. You confuse connection with obligation. And here's the hard truth. Not everyone who has access to you should have influence over you. Emotional clutter is just as real as physical clutter. And sometimes, the most powerful act of self-organization is redefining who gets to be close to your daily life. Ask yourself, who brings me peace and who brings me noise? Who respects my boundaries and who consistently crosses them? Who celebrates my growth and who subtly resists it, mocks it, or pulls me back toward comfort? These aren't small questions. These are the questions that shape the atmosphere you live in every single day. But this isn't about cutting everyone off or living in solitude. It's about curating your circle, surrounding yourself with people who reflect your values, not your fears. People who don't just accept your discipline, they encourage it. People who see your potential, not just your past. And just as important, be that person for others. Speak clarity, offer calm, respect space. Don't be another source of noise in someone else's life. If you want a life that's steady, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, the people around you cannot be in constant chaos, at least not without responsibility for their own healing. So what do you do when you realize your circle is out of alignment? You don't attack, you don't shame, you adjust, gently but firmly. You pull back where needed, you communicate where possible, you redefine what access means, and over time, your life will begin to reflect the new standard you set. Not just for your routines, but for your relationships. So ask yourself, are the people around me helping me rise into order or pulling me back into disorder? What kind of influence do I want in the room where I'm rebuilding my life? Because the people around you don't just fill your time, they shape your direction, and your peace depends on who you let near it. 8. Take care of your body. It's your first system. You can have the best plans, the sharpest mind, the clearest goals, but if your body is neglected, everything will eventually collapse. Your body is not a side project. It's not something to get around to when life slows down. It's the foundation of your energy, your focus, your discipline. Everything you build rests on it, and when it breaks down, your structure follows. Most people think of self-care as optional. They tell themselves they'll sleep more later, they'll eat better when they're less stressed, they'll move their body when they have more time. But what they don't realize is their life is already being shaped by the consequences of that neglect. The fatigue that makes it harder to focus, the inflammation that distorts mood, the anxiety that's worsened by sleep deprivation. These aren't separate from your routines. They are the hidden disruptors of every system you're trying to build. The Stoics didn't worship the body, but they respected it. Epictetus said, "You must take care of the body, but not make it the center of your attention." In other words, don't obsess, but don't abandon it either. A strong mind requires a strong vessel. A resilient life needs a body that is supported, not punished. And no, this isn't about perfection, it's about consistency. It's about recognizing that discipline starts with the body. The moment you choose sleep over scrolling, water over caffeine, movement over stagnation, nourishment over numbness, you are organizing your internal world, because your body is not just a tool, it's a communicator. It tells you when you're out of alignment through pain, fatigue, headaches, gut issues, stress responses. But most people don't listen. They override. They push through. They treat their physical symptoms as inconveniences instead of messages. And when you ignore the body long enough, it speaks louder, until you're forced to slow down, not by choice, but by breakdown. So how do you start honoring your body as the first system of order? Start small, but with respect. Prioritize sleep like your mind depends on it, because it does. Move daily, not for aesthetics, but to reconnect with your strength. Eat with awareness, hydrate with consistency, rest without guilt. And pay attention. Notice how your energy shifts when you're rested, how your patience increases when you're nourished, how much more productive your days become when your body isn't fighting just to keep up. Taking care of your body is not vanity, it's strategy. It's the foundation of every goal you're working toward. Because when your body feels safe, your mind can focus, your spirit can breathe, your clarity can return. So ask yourself, what message is my body sending me right now? And if I truly believed that self-discipline begins with physical care, what would I do differently today? You only get one body. It's not a machine to be pushed. It's a system to be supported. And the order you create in your life will only go as far as the health of the system carrying you through it. 9. Financial chaos steals mental peace. You can meditate, you can journal, you can eat clean and sleep 8 hours a night. But if your finances are in disorder, if you're constantly anxious about bills, living beyond your means, or ignoring your responsibilities, peace will always feel just out of reach. Because money, whether we like it or not, affects everything. It doesn't have to be your priority, but it must be respected. Because behind most quiet stress, the kind that lingers in the background of your thoughts, that wakes you up in the middle of the night, that keeps you overworking, overthinking, or emotionally checked out, is often financial disarray. Unpaid debts, unplanned expenses, no savings, no margin, no structure. And the worst part, most people aren't reckless, they're just avoiding. They feel overwhelmed, so they look away. But what we avoid in our bank account always grows in our nervous system. The Stoics, though ancient, understood this tension. They didn't equate peace with poverty, nor did they glorify wealth. Their wisdom was simple. Freedom is found not in having everything, but in needing less and managing what you have with clarity. Seneca wrote, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants." That is financial power, not the number, but the order. Because money isn't just numbers on a screen, it's energy. And how you relate to it reflects how you relate to your future. Do you spend impulsively to escape discomfort? Do you avoid checking your balances out of fear of what you'll find? Do you chase lifestyle inflation to match others, even when your soul feels poor? Financial chaos is not a character flaw. It's usually just a habit of avoidance, of emotional spending, of lack of clarity. But here's the good news. Habits can be changed. Systems can be built. Peace can be created, even if you're starting small. So how do you begin? You start by facing the truth. Look at your accounts, not with shame, with ownership. Write down what you owe, what you spend, what you earn. No judgment, just awareness. Because clarity is the beginning of power. Then you simplify. You don't need 10 budgeting apps or complicated financial goals. You need structure, a plan, a decision to stop giving your future away to short-term comforts. Start with saving something, anything. Set limits, build buffers, automate what you can. Create small rituals of financial care, weekly check-ins, honest reflections, gratitude for what you already have, and most importantly, detach your worth from your wallet. Financial chaos creates shame, but shame doesn't solve anything. Clarity does, structure does, self-respect does. So ask yourself, where is my financial life creating invisible stress? What small system, no matter how simple, can I put in place to protect my peace? You don't need to be rich to feel secure. You need to be responsible. You need to build a system strong enough to carry your life, not one you're constantly trying to escape. Because peace of mind is priceless, and every step toward financial order is a step toward that peace. 10. Use technology with intention, not impulse. Your phone can be a tool or a trap, a compass or a cage. We live in a time where access is unlimited. Everything is available: connection, distraction, validation, escape, all within reach, all the time. And while technology has made life more convenient, it's also made life more fragmented. Because when everything is urgent, nothing is sacred. You wake up, and before you even feel your breath, you reach for the screen. You check messages, swipe notifications, scroll endlessly. And suddenly, your day isn't yours anymore. Your mind has been hijacked. Your nervous system? Already activated. You haven't even stepped out of bed, and you're already reactive. Technology itself is not the enemy, but impulsive, unconscious use of it is one of the greatest modern threats to inner order. The Stoics never dealt with smartphones, but they lived by a principle that applies more than ever. If a thing is in your power and it does not corrupt your integrity, use it with reason. If it is not in your power, do not let it rule you. That's Epictetus, long before screen time reports and dopamine addiction. His point was timeless. Control your tools, or they will control you. The truth is, tech is designed to pull you in. It's designed to know your weaknesses, your attention span, your fears. And unless you set the rules, you will live by its design, not yours. So how do you shift from compulsive use to intentional presence? First, pause before you reach. Don't let checking your phone be the first or last thing you do each day. Reclaim those moments for breath, for stillness, for silence. Begin your day with your mind, not the world's noise. Second, audit your inputs. What apps take your time? Which ones drain your energy? Do they align with your values or just fill empty space? If you feel worse after using it, limit it, remove it. Your peace is more important than your convenience. Third, create digital rituals. Set times to check messages. Use Do Not Disturb. Turn off non-essential notifications. Protect your focus like it's something sacred, because it is. What you give your attention to, you give your life to. Fourth, be bored. Be quiet. Be still. Most compulsive scrolling comes from avoiding discomfort, silence, loneliness, restlessness. But if you can sit with those things, even for a few minutes, you begin to reclaim your mind. You begin to organize your internal world, not just the external. And finally, remember that every app, every click, every tap is training your brain. If you want a focused, calm, intentional life, you can't keep flooding it with randomness. So ask yourself, am I using this tool, or is it using me? Is this moment being enhanced by technology or eroded by it? Technology should serve your vision, not sabotage it. And if your phone feels more in control than you are, it's time to reset. Because order doesn't mean disconnection. It means discernment. And in a world of noise, your power lies in choosing what not to hear. 11. Order is not perfection. It's persistence. You won't always have it together, and that's not failure. That's life. There will be days when the alarm doesn't wake you, when the routine breaks, when the clarity slips, the inbox overflows, the structure collapses. You'll fall off track. You'll slip into old habits. You'll feel like you're back where you started. But here's what matters most. Do you come back? Because real order isn't built on never falling. It's built on how quickly you return. One of the greatest lies of discipline is that it must be flawless, that a single missed workout ruins the streak, that one day of chaos cancels months of structure. But perfection is not the standard. Persistence is. The Stoics knew this deeply. Marcus Aurelius, in his most human passages, wrote to himself not as a man who always got it right, but as one who kept trying. Over and over you'll read him say, "You lost it. Return." Not with shame, not with punishment, but with presence, with commitment, with humility. Because returning is the heart of all real transformation. You don't need to be perfect to be powerful. You don't need to do it all, just enough to stay pointed in the right direction. The problem is, many people confuse discipline with rigidity. They think if they break the system, it's over. And so when they inevitably slip, they collapse, they give up. But slipping is part of the path, and grace is part of the process. Without it, discipline turns to self-hatred. Order must be human. It must account for the unexpected, illness, fatigue, emotion, setbacks. That's why persistence matters more than momentum, because you won't always have motivation. But if you've built the identity of someone who returns, then the structure holds, even when life shakes. So how do you practice persistence? First, redefine what success looks like. It's not doing everything every day. It's doing something. It's keeping the flame alive, even if it's small. A 5-minute routine is still a victory. A single mindful breath is still progress. Keep the door open. That's the goal. Second, track the return, not just the routine. Keep a record of how many times you got back up, how many times you showed up after falling apart. That's where confidence grows. Not in the days when everything went right, but in the days you refused to stay down. Third, normalize the restart. Don't make it dramatic. Don't wait for Monday, for a new month, for perfect conditions. Restart now. Midday, mid-mistake, mid-regret. Quietly, confidently, and above all, speak to yourself with respect in the moments you feel off track. The voice you use in those moments, "You're lazy. You always fail," that's the voice that either breaks or builds your ability to return. So ask yourself, where have I mistaken a small slip for a full collapse? What would persistence look like for me today, not as a performance, but as a quiet return to what matters? Because perfection will break you, but persistence, it will build a life stronger than anything flawless ever could. 12. Your purpose requires structure to survive. Your purpose is not a feeling. It's not just inspiration, vision, or fire in the heart. Those things are beautiful, but alone they fade. Purpose without structure becomes frustration. A dream without discipline becomes a burden. A calling without consistency becomes noise you can't act on. It's easy to believe that once you find your why, everything will fall into place. That passion will carry you. That motivation will be enough. But that's not how purpose works. Purpose is fragile in the beginning. It needs systems. It needs structure. It needs a container strong enough to hold its weight, especially when life gets hard, or you lose momentum, or doubt creeps in. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire while writing meditations to himself. He didn't just speak about purpose, he structured his life around it. Epictetus, born into slavery, taught philosophy not through emotion, but through repetition, clarity, and the construction of habit. Because they understood, if you don't build your life to support your purpose will eventually collapse under the pressure of your life. You can't just hope your goals survive the chaos. You must design your day to carry them. You must build a rhythm that protects your energy, prioritizes your time, guards your attention. Your environment matters. Your schedule matters. Your rituals matter. Because when you don't plan your purpose, you postpone it again and again until what once felt alive now feels like regret. So how do you protect your purpose? Start by making space. Stop saying yes to everything. Clarity requires boundaries. Then build containers, time blocks, focused hours, daily rituals that serve your mission. You don't need 10-hour days. You need uninterrupted, intentional time. Next, eliminate friction. Prepare the night before. Keep your tools ready. Reduce decisions. The fewer barriers you face each morning, the more energy you have to channel into what truly matters. And when motivation fades, because it always will, let your structure carry you. You won't always feel inspired. You won't always feel confident. But if the system is strong, you'll still move. You'll still write, build, serve, lead, create, even when doubt is loud. Because your structure isn't tied to your mood, it's tied to your mission. So ask yourself, have I built my life to support my purpose, or am I hoping my purpose survives my disorganized life? What would it look like to treat my calling as something sacred, not just in words, but in how I organize every day around it? Your purpose is real, but it needs more than emotion. It needs architecture. Build it, protect it, and let your structure become your strength. Order is not a personality trait. It's not something you're born with or without. It's a decision, a practice, a form of love for your future self. Because without it, even the most powerful mind will drown in distraction. Even the most beautiful dream will die in chaos. Even the strongest spirit will burn out from chasing peace it hasn't built space for. This episode wasn't about perfection. It wasn't about becoming robotic or rigid. It was about remembering, if you don't organize your life, it will eventually organize you, and not in ways you like. The Stoics didn't control everything. They simply mastered what was theirs to control: their choices, their time, their environment, their mind. And you can do the same. One habit at a time, one corner of your life at a time, one moment of clarity, practiced consistently. So don't wait for everything to fall apart to create order. Start now, while you still have room to build. Because your life is not meant to be lived in reaction, it's meant to be shaped by intention. If this episode spoke to something in you, share it with someone you care about, someone who might be feeling the weight of disorganization, the ache of mental clutter, the slow burn of wasted time. And if you're ready to take responsibility, not from guilt, but from power, subscribe. This is a space for builders, for thinkers, for people who are done waiting. Because you are not a victim of chaos. You are the architect of your own clarity.